So this is the concept of surround sound SEO in that, yes, ranking your site is good. We all want to do that for our keywords. But if you stop there, the rest of the SERPs are going to go to somebody else.
Hello and welcome to the Simple and Smart SEO Show,
where we provide tips and advice to improve your website's search engine ranking.
I'm Brittany Herzberg, SEO copywriter for holistic health and wellness pros who want to show up as the answer to a Googled question.
And I'm Waddell, an e-commerce seller and content creator. I help business owners communicate the value of their products and services through content so you can make more sales and grow your business.
We're business besties who love learning and sharing what we've learned. So what are we waiting for? Let's jump in.
Today, we are here with Alisa Meredith. She is the senior product marketing manager over at SEMrush. And not only am I excited that Alisa's here, but I'm also excited that you pronounce SEMrush. So anyway.
So thank you for being here.
Welcome to the show, Alisa. How are you today?
I'm thrilled to be here. Yes, you were right. It's SEMrush.
Thank you. I've been actually corrected on this podcast.
I think a couple times.
And anytime somebody corrects me, I'm like, oh, I just assume I'm wrong. I'm like, whatever. It's like,
me too.
That's fine.
This is why we need the pros on here.
Yeah. But this is like complete validation in my ability to pronounce things. So I just want to say thank you for that.
And you will never stand idly by and be corrected again, ever.
Oh, I will. I don't care. It's like humble mode, I guess. But okay. So Alisa, tell us about, what you do for SEMrush and what that's like.
Yeah. So I work on a couple of products that are in beta right now. And, it's all standard GTM stuff, figuring out messaging, positioning, content marketing, promotion. And these products were kind of intended to help marketing agencies to offer new services to their clients. So one of them allows you to make simple SEO optimizations right from your browser, which is something I know a lot of SEOs struggle with. They have all these great optimizations, and then the developers are like, I'll get to that in 4 months. So that's one of them. The other one, though, is the one we're going to talk about today, which is called surround sound. So just trying to kind of educate about that. And that one's a little trickier, right? Because people don't know, like, what is that? So it's
got a cool name.
It does have a cool name. Yeah. So that had to start with kind of educating about the concept and why it's important before we ever got to, hey, we have this great tool. So I know when I mentioned it to you, Crystal, you're like, ooh.
Her ears perked up. She's like, say what?
Yeah. When you told me about it, I then went to SEMrush's website and started reading all about it because you sent me some links to the blogs or whatever. And so I'm reading all about it. I've got my list of questions. So B, if you don't mind, I'll just jump in with my first question.
No, go for it.
You're cool.
I might pull on a thread. And if I do that, I'll just interrupt you. I'll be like, Crystal.
I can already tell you that the thread that I want to pull on next time is the product that we have not yet mentioned. So that first one that you're talking about, I was like, oh, that also sounds interesting. So
I feel like anyone listening is going to be like me, where it's I'm happy for you that you're keeping it under wraps, but also what is it? What's going to pop out next? Right?
Oh, it's a secret. Yes. That's the key to great marketing is don't tell anyone what you're selling.
Yeah. Don't give us anything. Nothing.
But it's a teaser.
Anticipation.
Okay, so what is surround sound marketing and how did it even come into existence?
Okay, so surround sound marketing, when you think of surround sound, what it comes to mind first?
Just being surrounded,
being surrounded
by a
big giant circle.
Yeah, speakers everywhere.
Right. It creates that kind of immersive experience where it's around all the time. So the idea of surround sound SEO is that where do people go when they want to buy something? They might ask their friends, they might ask their family, but they're definitely going to ask Google too, right? So when you ask Google, what's the best smartphone in 2022, you're going to see results from all the big carriers, right? And all the big manufacturers. But do you really trust what they say?
Not really, because they're
She's
talking about
shaking her
themselves.
Right. Right. So you might be more likely to go to an article, I don't know, TechCrunch or something that is the 10 best smartphones for 2022. Or you might get more specific and like the 10 best smartphones for business owners in 2022. But those are the kind of articles that you want because you want that kind of impartial-ish third party opinion and review. You want to hear from other people what they're saying about it. So if you do that search, the best smartphones for 2022, and you see Samsung mentioned in every single article, you see a specific model mentioned, it's going to make you have to check it out. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. So this is the concept of surround sound SEO in that, yes, ranking your site is good. We all want to do that for our keywords. But if you stop there, the rest of the SERPs are going to go to somebody else. Mm-hmm. Right. And you also won't be able to compete with those big publication sites. Right. So if you're in home decor, you're not going to compete with Better Homes and Gardens, Southern Living, and all that. But you may be able to get them to mention you. So that's the idea. Just kind of be there where all the conversations are happening so that you just cannot be ignored.
Yeah, you got to show up everywhere. I love it. And I really like the idea of showing up in those lists because it is, like you said, impartial-ish. And this is something that I try to do even with the case studies that I write, because I can tell you I'm an awesome SEO copywriter. Probably won't, but I could see that. But you hearing it from I don't do like the braggy thing, but like having somebody else tell you that, it makes you believe it more.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So, okay. So how does surround sound help you be everywhere? You know, especially if you can't compete for those top rankings in search.
Right. So you're probably not going to get the number one spot. Maybe you will eventually. That's a good goal to go for. But can you get one of those publications to mention you, 4 of those publications to mention you? And then you're building your brand visibility, your share of search. You might even show up in the little preview in the SERPs where it might have you as number 1 or number 2. So even if people don't click into the article, they're still seeing you right in the SERP results. So the way that the tool helps is that you put in your keywords, you put in your competitors, and that will show you all the pages that mention your competitors and don't mention you, the pages that rank for those keywords. So then that's what we call our opportunities, right? Because not only are they ranking for your keywords, which is great, but they're also have shown that they're willing to mention your competitors, which means they may be very willing to mention you as well. So this is where we kind of blur the line between link building and PR. So it's not traditional link building where it's maybe you have a quota you have to build every month and you just go get them where you can, right? These take a little bit more cultivation, creating of relationships in order to get into some of those higher ranking publications.
Yeah, this is what I love so much about SEMrush, you know, because there's so many tools out there for SEO, but I just feel like SEMrush and content marketing, like you guys are so forward thinking. You know, it's like there's tools that measure like right now, and there's tools that show you what has happened. But I feel like if you want to know like how to move forward in the future, like SEMrush is hands down the best because you guys are always creating these tools that are like, hey, what's happening right now is not what's going to be happening tomorrow. You've got to be thinking about new ways all the time to, you know, do those old things like SEO. So that's what I've really enjoyed about all of the products that you have, but especially the idea of surround sound. So you mentioned 2 terms that I don't want to skip over because I think they're really important to define. The first one is brand visibility. What does that mean?
Engineering leaders and developers who want to be engineering leaders know they need to learn from the best in the business. And you can find all those leaders on DevInterrupted, the podcast about engineering problems and how to solve them, where leaders from GitHub, Netflix, Stripe, and hundreds of other companies share their insights, lessons learned, and the mistakes they've made along the way. By leveraging data from Linear B's studies of more than 10,000 engineering teams, DevInterrupted is designed to help engineering teams benchmark and improve their developer experience and level up your career. You can check out DevInterrupted wherever you listen to your podcasts and be part of the new wave of engineering leaders driving the next generation of unicorn startups.
Yeah. So it's tied to brand awareness, right? So it's the same concept about surround sound, where if your name pops up everywhere, that's going to build your brand. That's building your brand visibility. So when you go into SEMrush to surround sound, you'll be able to see what is your current visibility.
And how is that calculated?
Yeah. So it's calculating where you're showing up in the SERPs. So if you're showing up in 3 results in the first 10 and you're only looking at the first 10, then your visibility would be 30%.
Gotcha.
Right. And we also have a weighted visibility by like the page that you're on, how high does that rank? So there are different ways you can look at it as well, as opposed to just the numbers. I do want to say though that this concept actually came from HubSpot.
Oh.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, they kind of came up with this idea. They did it internally, quietly, in order to promote their free CMS, because they were going up against Salesforce, which is giant, right? You're never going to beat them right out of the gate. So this really helped them to get a foothold in that marketplace. So they created the concept. They also built a tool themselves, but it has never been anything that's been released. So it was just on their end. And the SEMrush tool, from what I'm told, goes a lot deeper. We have a webinar that I did with Alex Burkett, who is the one who kind of came up with it and kind of piloted it. It's interesting to hear how that went and how it's worked for them.
That's so interesting. We'll definitely make sure we link to that because I know you shared that with us.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the other term that you mentioned was share of search. And, I'd like to just hear you kind of expand on that. But one thing that also stood out in what you just said is that you could show up in multiple spots in the SERPs. You know what I mean? Like so many times you hear SEOs talking about get to position 1, 2, or 3, or just get to page 1 or whatever. But it's always about like the one, and you're talking about multiple. So this is it's so innovative, So can you talk to us a little bit about share of search?
Yeah, share of search is very similar to visibility. Like, how much are you showing up? Like, you just explained it perfectly, right? Yeah, you did. So if you're looking at that first 10 results and you're showing up for 4 of them, I mean, your share of search is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, that number 1 spot, that would be great if we can get that. But even if we can't, we can still increase our share of search. It's something that is attainable for pretty much everybody.
Yeah. And, I've seen this for my own business in one particular situation. I was chosen for one of those people also ask questions, about senior night. And so it's like, I show up there as a response to a question. And then I also rank in the top 3. So I'm like,
really nice.
I love
20%. 20%.
Yeah. Good work. Yep.
Yeah. That's super exciting.
Yeah. The thing too about surround sound SEO, we recommend that people use those really high intent keywords. So rather than, let's see, what would it be? Rather than looking for an informational term, you're looking for a commercial intent term. So that's another tool we have in SEMrush that will help you kind of identify those commercial intent keywords related to what you do. So it would be those listicles, right? What are people searching when they're just about to pull the trigger and actually buy something? Those are the words that work best for your surround sound SEO. We looked at, as an example, we looked at a Whirlpool campaign that we created ourselves. And if you look for like French door refrigerators, you're going to see like Lowe's and Home Depot and all that. You're already mentioned there, right? As a manufacturer, that's taken care of. Plus, you're never going to beat Home Depot. But if you search for something like best French door refrigerators, Home Depot and all that, they might show up somewhere along there. But you're also going to see publications that you could get to mention you.
That is such an interesting distinction, and just like adding that word best can make such a big difference. So I guess my next question then would be, we've kind of touched on it, but like, how is surround sound different than traditional SEO?
Yeah.
The
biggest difference is the goal, right? So traditional SEO, you're trying to rank your website, your content. With surround sound SEO, you're taking advantage of other sites that already rank for your keywords, and you're kind of getting in there as well.
Yeah. There's a person I follow for social media, And she talked about this with like Instagram and, borrowing other people's audiences. So shout out to Ellen Yin, because she was talking about how you could sell with a small audience by going to, borrow someone else's audience. And the illustration she gave was, let's say you're neighbors with someone who has a large audience, let's like just use Amy Porterfield for an example or whatever. And so you've got your house, and you can invite, your 2 or 3 friends who know who you are and say, hey, I've got this thing, and it's like, okay, we're not buying it. But then you could go across the street to the party Amy's having and tell all those people. And guess what? There's a lot more people there. There's a lot more opportunity for people to find you and kind of engage with what you've got going on. So I thought it's kind of a similar concept.
I like that a lot. And then with surround sound, it's more like Amy is telling everybody about you, right? So it's not you going in there, it's them telling about you, which tends to work better.
So what I'm hearing is like, this is the perfect opportunity for introverts, because it's like everybody else is doing the work and all you're doing is finding the opportunities, and you're like, hey, how about this?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're selling meal kits, for example, you're HelloFresh, and you're seeing that, oh, this article mentioned my competitors, but not me, that's a perfect opportunity to reach out and say, hey, I saw this article. Notice you didn't include us. I would love to send you some sample meals so you can consider adding us to the list. And of course, then they have to disclose, right, that they got free samples, all that good FTC stuff. But that's the way to kind of start to break the ice and get in there.
So how do you go about, like, we've talked about the opportunities, and I'm sure Crystal had this question on her list, but how do you then go about trying to take advantage of those opportunities and reaching out to these, sites that have these lists?
Yeah. So if you're already doing link building, you likely already have an outreach program in place. This is going to take advantage of the same sort of thing. And we're going to assume that everything's personalized when you're doing your link outreach anyway, but you even probably want to spend more time on it with a surround sound outreach because the value is so much higher. So you might want to be looking at, rather than just a one-off link, like, how can I build this relationship with this publication, with this blogger? What can I give them in return? So maybe it's, would you consider having us on your podcast? We'll have you on our podcast, whatever it is that you can give to add value, even if it's writing your own article or, especially offering to write the copy yourself, whatever you want in their article. Make it clear that they won't have to do anything but copy paste, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's a big selling point for a lot of people, is if you can just go ahead and say, here's the thing, would you be willing to put this in there? Yeah.
Yeah. And then, if you have an affiliate program or something, that also always sweetens the deal.
Yeah. Amazing.
That is so cool. Okay. So you did talk a little bit about this, but, just going back to that search, because I'm just stuck in the SERPs right now. How do you identify the potential gaps in search coverage?
Yeah. So you do have to know your keywords, right? That's going to be your first step. So what you'll be able to do, not only looking at opportunities, but also you can look by keyword. So how am I doing by keyword? And then looking at who's ranking for that keyword. And are they mentioning me? Are they mentioning my competition? Are they linking to me, linking to my competition? That's when you can start to see, like, all right, for this keyword here, I only have this much visibility. And it does break it down at keyword level. So you can see where you might really need to focus if it's an really important keyword for you, and say, oh, I have 0% coverage. That's not good. Let me check and see who's ranking and where I need to start.
Yeah. And I'm hearing the word like collaboration in my head. It's like, it seems like the future is collaborative, more than just that siloed business. There's like, everybody's out there, every man for themselves, It's like, no, we have to start building those connections on the internet, just like we would in real life, like just, real life networking now moved to the internet. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like that means that you and I are really well primed for this, Crystal, because this is like both of us kind of already do this. Okay. I definitely do this. I think it's in my DNA. So I'm like getting really excited just hearing about this stuff, because even just like how you were talking about asking, like, the give and take, like, I can do this if you would do this for me. I do that. So I have ended up showing up on some people's provider lists or trusted copywriter lists or whatever it might be. And even if it's only on their website and they're not these big giant websites with the well-known list, that's okay. I'm starting somewhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely. Okay. So, one of the things that I also love about SEMrush is like the educational stuff that you guys provide. And I've learned a lot about like buyer's journey and, just really trying to align, marketing with your buyer's journey. And so I was just wondering if you had any tips for understanding or building out a customer's unique buyer's journey. And if, surround sound fits into that in any way.
Yeah, surround sound definitely fits in, and it fits in near the bottom, right?
Okay.
Again, it's those, think about the keywords that people use when they're about ready to purchase, because that's where the recommendations are the most important. So you'll have your informational keywords, great, rank for those too. But where the most value comes in is closest to the sale. So that's why you can kind of justify that a little more effort to get that kind of relationship building, get that link, because it is so close to the sale.
You know what this reminds me of? Remember when Steph was on?
Yes.
Stephanie Long was talking about this, and she was talking about she's an SEO strategist or
consultant.
Consultant. She's got a title.
All of the words, just like throw all of the words.
Yeah. She's out there on the West Coast, but she said that one of her, techniques as a SEO person is to target those middle of funnel keywords, and to, kind of lead into what you're talking about. And so I love the fact that, we're getting more specific and we're getting closer to that actual purchase point, because, with content, you're trying to bring people in, and then we've talked about retargeting with ads and, but it's like, everybody wants to know, how do you close the deal? It's like, how do you get them all the way down and, really spend the most time, and get really productive towards the bottom of the funnel, So I think that's a really cool thing that surround sound does.
Well, and another one of the quotes from Ashley Chanel that sticks in my head is when she was talking about return on energy, return on effort. So this is a really big return on effort. If you're focusing closer to the end of the funnel, that's where you're going to have more of those conversions. That's a brilliant place to spend your time. I love this. I'm super excited.
Oh, good.
Okay. So what if you're not like Whirlpool, what if you're starting from zero, like how do you implement surround sound from the starting point?
It's the same way. And that's the beauty of it, right? You don't have to be ranking or well-known for this to work. You're probably going to have to be a little stronger on your relationship building and your outreach, but it can work for anybody.
Awesome.
I love hearing that.
And is there training available for, using surround sound, or, how does that work if somebody wanted to get started?
Yeah, so you can definitely go in and try it. It's under the extra tools menu in the SEMrush menu. When you go in, the dashboard has just recently been updated. So it's really easy to see like where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are. And then you can just click through and figure out what to do. There is also that webinar with Alex Burkett, where he walks through exactly what he does to set up a campaign, and then even all the way through doing outreach. And there's a series of templates of outreach emails that you can get. So that's what I would recommend doing. But if you go in there and you just try it, I think you'll see the possibilities. I think that my favorite pages are the pages report, and that's where you'll see your opportunities, right? So you'll see every page that ranks for your important keywords, and whether they're mentioning you or not, and which competitors they're mentioning. The other one is that keywords report we talked about, where you can see at an individual keyword level, what is your visibility like?
Yeah, I love that. And have you guys ever heard of a SWOT analysis?
Yes, because of you.
Yeah. Well, that's what this to me just seems like the ultimate SWOT,
Yes.
It's and for those of you who are listening and you may not have ever heard of it, SWOT is an acronym for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so I love it. Over here, B's my star student. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm like mouthing the words as she's saying.
Yeah. But, but it's so important, it's so important to understand like where you're strong and how you can, maintain and grow that strength, where your weaknesses are. So like you said, you can turn them into opportunities, identify your opportunities so that you don't just wake up one day and realize, oh gosh, I never planned for the future. I think that's a huge one. So many businesses, they get so stuck in what they're doing day to day that they fail to notice that things are changing around them. And so that's why I think a tool like this is so important. So go ahead. If you have something to add to that, I love it.
Yeah. I want to take it all the way through to the T, right? The threat part, right? Where are your competitors that you are not? And beyond that, we have seen people discover competitors they didn't even think of as competitors when they realize that they're showing up in those high ranking pages for their keywords as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing I was thinking about is like, you don't know what you don't know until you look at the report and then you're like, oh, that's over there. Okay.
Yeah,
exactly. I feel like that's been one of the biggest ahas of SEO is just understanding what else is going on around you. Here's an example of, I think I might've talked about this, but a few weeks ago, I was, studying one of my number one keywords, which is senior photo props. And so I had written an article about senior photo props and I was checking my visibility, and my share of search, and going through like, am I showing up in photos? Am I showing up in videos? Am I showing up, in just those regular search results? And turns out somebody else lifted my entire blog with the images and everything that I created for Pinterest that had my brand name on it. It had collagenwood.com at the bottom of the pin. I mean, so every single image. I'm like, what in the world, And so, but they were ranking in the photo section for my blog.
Oh, no.
So it's one of those things where I would never have thought that something like that could happen. Oh, wow. And I reached out to them and said, hey, I don't know what this is, but y'all need to take it down, and they did right away, which is great. But probably what I should have done, which would have been smarter, is just say, hey, make sure you add the right link in there, not yours. Point it back to my page.
That's what I was thinking. Hey, will you make sure this is linking over here?
Yeah. No. So as I hear what you're saying, I'm like, oh man, I could have really had share search over there. But okay, so does surround sound help you target those high difficulty keywords? Is there an element there to help you rank for the harder ones?
Well, it won't help you rank, but it will help you see who is ranking so that you know where you might be able to get a link and a mention.
Okay. So that's right. That's where you try to build those partnerships. And yeah. And I love that too, because sometimes when you're thinking about getting started in SEO, you feel like you're so behind and you see, oh, these guys are ranking. I could never catch up.
Yeah. Yeah. And two, if you go into surround sound, the tool, I think the first inclination is to dump all of your keywords into one campaign. But that's not always the best idea, right? So if let's say you're Nike and you're doing a surround sound campaign, you might want to have different campaigns, one for women's running shoes, right? Because you put them all in one campaign and then you can see in general, what is your brand visibility? What's your share of search overall for all of your keywords? But you also want to know with individual product lines or focuses, like how are we doing in like youth soccer shoes, right? These different initiatives that you might have. It's definitely worth splitting it out into a different campaign.
Wow. It's like so deep, it's like,
I know.
Woo,
We're very really quiet. It's like, what else?
Break it down some more,
Hey, I'm Chad, and I'm a visual storyteller at Basecamp. I make videos about all the cool features that Basecamp offers, which involves writing scripts.
Where did I save that draft again?
Collaborating with colleagues.
This is due by yesterday? Got it.
And getting feedback from my team.
Were his notes in an email or a chat?
Or was that a dream? That's a lot to keep track of, but Basecamp keeps my team organized. That's where we store files, schedule to-dos, receive feedback, and basically manage everything. Basecamp helps millions of teams keep their projects on track, including ours. Want to see how Basecamp can help with your team? Go to basecamp.com/Chad. That's basecamp.com/Chad.
Where did I leave my camera again? Found it.
But it's
Okay.
really simple. I mean, you could do this without the tool, right? You just have to open, 80 tabs or more and then look and see, am I mentioned here? Are my competitors mentioned here? But the tool itself just makes it super easy. It's practically instant when you put it in there.
That is
Okay.
so cool.
And I hope that you haven't already said this, but when I was reading, through some of the information you sent me, you were talking about 3 types of keywords to consider when you're trying to figure out what types of words to target. And so, having that massive list and then breaking it down into different lists, is that related to the types of words that you want to target?
It could be, right? So if content marketing itself is a really big focus for you, maybe you do want to do a campaign that's all your informational keywords, so you can see how you're doing in informing the internet about you, and giving them that kind of top of the funnel. But where you're probably going to want to spend more of your time is with those commercial intent, transactional intent kind of keywords that we talked about, like whatever you search when you're about to do a thing, right? So on Pinterest, we know, because we have to mention Pinterest.
Yes.
A lot of times, because almost all the searches are unbranded and people are very open to new ideas, and Pinterest really wants to share new ideas that they think people will like, that's where your really top of the funnel keywords can do very well, right? The bottom of the funnel ones can work too, but things like running routines for beginners, right? That would be great on Pinterest. People would love it. They'll save it like crazy. But when you do that in a surround sound campaign, it's just a very different effect. So I wouldn't mix in those informational keywords with your commercial intent.
That is really good to know. Okay, I have a couple. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'll hold it. I'll hold my thoughts.
No. It's because I was going to run into another question. So you go.
Well, I was just thinking, like, as someone trying to build a marketing strategy from scratch, it's just so interesting to hear how these different tools work together, because I'm all about trying to align the different terms that people use, like top of funnel or, solution aware or whatever, just trying to align all of those terms with keywords and, informational and transactional. So it's interesting. It's like, I love Pinterest. Pinterest is there at the top. And then I like surround sound. Now we've got that at the bottom. And so it's just, mixing and matching all of these different tools to build the strategy that, makes sense for your business, and so I just really appreciate the breakdown, because it really helps to draw a picture of like how all of these things on the internet work together.
I think you need to make an image.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that.
Okay.
Canva is calling my name.
So
and just to make sure that I'm going to make that image correctly, the 3 types of keywords you kind of want to consider would be informational, which is kind of at the top, commercial in the middle, and transactional at the bottom. Is that?
If you in SEMrush, commercial and transactional are very similar, so I would lump those together.
Okay.
And then informational, I feel like that's not where we tend to focus. But if that is your focus, if you're all about the content and you want to see how far your content is getting, where you're being mentioned for these keywords, is there a thought leadership push that you want to see? Are you being mentioned? You could do that, but really the more value is going to come from those listicles, top 10 this or the best that, or the insert adjective here, right? So the easiest, whatever it is that is your focus, those are the keywords I would concentrate on.
Got it. I really like it.
And, it's like how Ashley was talking about, because Ashley Chanel came in and talked about ads with us and, retargeting and like building out your funnel with ads. And, okay, if somebody watched 20 to 30% of this video, then we're going to retarget them with this video and that type of thing. So I think what you're talking about, B, is that, like Alisa said, that content comes at the beginning, and then your retargeting strategy is what falls in the middle, whatever that looks like. And then that commercial transactional is at the bottom. So if we're building out a graphic, that's kind of, the flow, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Totally. We're going to like collaborate on that. See, collaboration happening already.
Yeah. We'll send it to you to take a look at, see if we've got all our.
Oh no, I just want to see it. I'm sure it'll be.
Are you like,
Labels in the right place.
Everything looks pretty. Yeah.
I'll pin it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I have a client, I do a lot of healthcare copywriting, so health and wellness providers. And I have a client who really wants to get a link in like a WebMD article. And let's say that there's a listicle and we want to, just kind of knock on their door and say, hey, would you feature us? Would you link to us? I know you walked us through kind of like high level what to do, but let's say we don't have SEMrush and we don't have surround sound. What would you recommend someone do in that case?
As far as the outreach or?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's
So
like, get
the
it,
outreach
get
is going to be, I'm sorry.
Well, sorry, I was just saying she would recommend get surround sound, but go ahead.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
of course. I'm sure I
But-
want to show people like the time and effort that it could save them. So, if we don't have that.
So where surround sound comes in is to identify the opportunities. And then it is up to you to go do the outreach.
Got it. So really in that scenario, what it could help with is figuring out which article
Yeah.
you could.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I like it.
Where's your time best spent? Right.
Right. Instead of just blindly saying, hey, would you like to me?
Exactly. Right. So your customer might be kind of a bucket list item, right? I want to be on WebMD, but is that page or is that site really ranking for the keywords that are important to them?
Right.
Surround sound could help you figure that out.
That's a very good point.
Thank you.
Because a
And
lot
then
of
you
times
don't have-
clients are like,
yeah, they have ideas. Of course, we all have our
Yeah.
ideas, but you would be able to go in and say, all right, and we looked at all of your keywords. And so you don't have to open your incognito browser and open 40 tabs to check every keyword. You just do it once. And then you can say, look, this is where you really want to be.
this would be a better opportunity. This would get you seen as more of an authority. Yeah.
Yeah. And it even has like an estimated traffic amount too. So you can see which pages would be best for that.
Yeah.
So how many keywords can you add in at a time to check on?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So to try it out, you can do 50. If you want more, you would just write in and ask for more. Because right now it's in beta. So I would suggest try it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my question. I was gonna ask, like, let's say that someone has SEMrush, has an account. This is something they could just, in theory, go check that. What did you say?
Absolutely.
Extra tools tab?
The extra tools menu at the top. Will
Okay.
be there. Yep.
Okay.
Wow.
And then
and
so we
once
all talking at once.
we do this.
Go ahead, Alisa. You're the guest.
Oh.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. And so with all beta products, we want to know, how could this be better for you? What would make it clearer for you? What would add more value? So, if you go in and try it and there's something that's confusing to you or something you wish it did that it doesn't, we want to know about that.
I'm going in there today. Well, not today.
Yeah.
I'm going in tomorrow because I have client work today. I'll get distracted for the next 5 hours.
Yeah.
So everybody we have our marching orders. So if you're listening right now,
Yes.
you need to go to SEMrush. You need to go to the tools menu and extra tools menu and check out surround sound and get started with that. And then, we definitely want to hear your feedback too. So we have a link down in the show notes, the Galas link, GALAS. If you have any questions or, you want to, make a comment, give some feedback, just join the conversation about this. Please click that link. And, if we can pass anything along to Alisa, we definitely will. But Alisa, how could people reach out to you directly if, they have any additional questions?
Yeah, they could reach me at my SEMrush email, which is alisa.meredith@semrush.com. Or you can find me on Twitter, Instagram at Alisa M. Meredith.
Okay. She's everywhere.
She's everywhere. She's using surround sound in real life.
Yes. I was going to say it's surround sound, Alisa.
Right. And that's the thing, like surround sound can be everything, right? It can be your social media. It can be all that. The tool that we have really helps with is the surround sound SEO focus, which is why I thought you might want to hear about it.
Of course. Plus, Crystal's like, yes, please.
Uh-huh. Well, I dove into it. I'm already on it. And, I think outreach that's a tough part about SEO. You know what I mean? It's very time consuming And it's, a little bit deflating sometimes because it almost seems like a numbers game where, you're going to get a lot more no's than yeses. But when you do it with a strategy like surround sound, you're actually reaching out in a meaningful way. So I think it's easier to identify those relationships that could be mutually beneficial. And so it just makes it a better use of your time. So I really appreciate that from the perspective of a link builder, because it's like, this makes more sense, and then you're, like you said, building those relationships that aren't just for that one link. It's not just that one time. It's like, hey, maybe this could actually be a relationship and a give and take thing that will, go on into the future. So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And you brought up something too that as you were talking, I got to thinking about it. Imposter syndrome. When we're doing the outreach, imposter syndrome is such a big thing. Mm-hmm. So if you're able to take this tool, like, surround sound, and look for the opportunities that exist, that you probably have a higher likelihood of being able to get a yes, because they're linking to other people. So I feel like maybe, possibly, I'll have to live this out and try it, but maybe possibly they are a little bit more open to linking to you and to having more people to add to something like that.
Yep. That's exactly the idea. Yeah.
And that example that you gave with the dentist, and then Alisa said, hey, look, you may have an idea that you think is going to be great for your business, but come to find out, SEO related, it actually is not going to move the needle for you. It's not going to do what you thought. That's not the right fit for your business. That also is a time saver,
Right.
So,
and it's also like, that's not where you want to focus. This is where you want to focus.
Yes.
And I wouldn't say it's not necessarily the best fit, but it's not the best opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So I love that. Awesome.
This has been
thank
great.
you so much, Alisa.
Okay. This is fun. Thank you.
I can already see a part 2, because that thing you were talking about in the beginning, I haven't forgotten about it. forgotten about it.
I know. She won't. She'll be like, hey, dude, is it out yet?
Yeah.
Hey, dude, is it out?
So no, it's out. You can try it. It's called Page Improve, and it's also in the extra tools menu.
Ooh. Page Improve, in case you weren't listening. Page Improve.
Yep. So maybe in the future, maybe we could have a conversation about Page Improve. I'll go do my research. Wink. Yeah. But
we're very subtle over here.
Yeah. Check out Surround Sound. And Alisa, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. This is like
thank you.
Yeah, it's such a joy for us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today.
If you like this info, subscribe before you go, so you never miss out on something related to SEO.
See you next time.